Welcome to In-Depth Alaska. I'm Lauren Maxwell, and today I spoke with Tiffany Hall of Recover Alaska about dry January. And Tiffany, you were just telling me a little bit about your organization. How would you characterize it?
We are a nonprofit organization that works to reduce the harms of alcohol across the state. We don't provide direct services ourselves. We work kind of at the system level. So we try to change policy to create safer environments for Alaskans. We operate a statewide prevention network, and we also work to change social norms. So reducing stigma for people who need help with alcohol, celebrating recovery, and normalizing sobriety.
Right, and we're going to talk about Dry January today. I think most of us have heard of Dry January, but maybe you can just sort of tell us briefly a little bit about it and the increasing popularity of people that want to give it a try.
Sure. Dry January started as a fundraising effort in the United Kingdom a while ago. Recover Alaska has been doing it for a number of years now. Maybe 10 years ago, we started with just a dry weekend challenge, but we got a lot of really positive feedback about that. And so now we support Dry January. And it's a month where people can choose to take a break from alcohol. And January is a good time to do that because sometimes the holidays can be filled with excess everything, excess parties, excess consumption, excess food, all of the things. So it's a great time to take a break and have a reset.
And we should mention that this will air, of course, a few days into the month. Don't let that stop you if
That's
you are
right.
curious about Dry January. You can always hop on the train. Is that right?
That's absolutely right. People start to feel the impacts in as few as 3 or 4 days, really. And over the course of the month, people can expect to experience a lot of different changes, both physically, things like reduced blood pressure, sleeping better, improved skin clarity, but also mentally. People notice improvements in their mood, improvements in energy, and just a little bit better awareness of themselves overall.
Mm-hmm. And who is Dry January for? Really anyone who has, you don't necessarily even need to have concerns about your drinking, or if you do have concern, I mean, it could be.
That's right. No, more and more people are starting to participate in Dry January, from people who drink every day to people who maybe only drink a couple of times a month. It's a really nice way to just kind of take mental note of how large of a role alcohol plays in your life. Some of the feedback that we've gotten are, people sometimes don't want to take a break from alcohol because they have a big dinner that they're going to. And 10 years ago, if you went to a restaurant, you maybe didn't have any other alternative besides water or a soda if other folks were drinking cocktails or wine or things. But now, a lot of restaurants and even bars are offering non-alcoholic mixed drinks, non-alcoholic wine and beer has become much more popular. And so it's just a nice way to see what it's like to go without drinking.
What would you say to people who are maybe hesitant? That think perhaps this is a good idea for me, but oh boy, I don't know if that's something I can commit to.
I think it's fine to, even if you think you want to do it and then maybe you do have a drink during the month, I would say don't give up. You can restart the next day. All is not lost. All of those days of sobriety do make an impact. And that's a really good piece of information to have. If a person can't go a month without drinking, then that's maybe something they want to think about more for themselves, maybe talk to their primary care provider about. It's a really good piece of information to know.
So what are some tips that you would give to people who are thinking about doing this?
Some ways to be successful with Dry January, I would say make a plan. And maybe even write that down. Say, I'm committing to not drink alcohol for this month. Make a list of things you can do that don't center around alcohol. So maybe instead of meeting somebody for a drink after work, you meet up for tea or a walk outside. I would also say to tell other people. tell your friends and family, your close support network, that you're doing this so that they can support you, and so they don't maybe offer you a alcoholic beverage every time they see you.
Right. And then plus it's a little bit of accountability too.
That's right. That's right.
If
Absolutely.
you speak it out loud, then, I think probably most of us are a little bit more inclined to keep our word, or at least try harder.
Yes, that's exactly right. And sometimes people may even want to join you, or you'll find, oh, I'm doing that too. Let's do this together, or let's share mocktail recipes, whatever it is.
Okay. The other thing I was thinking about is maybe, you mentioned people saying, oh, I have a big dinner coming up. Maybe think about situations where you normally drink, or where the expectation will be. I mean, literally on your calendar, take a look and say, oh, I'm meeting, X group of friends, or we're going out to dinner here, or whatever it is, and maybe come up with some strategies beforehand. Would that be helpful?
Yes, absolutely. I think that's a great call. And maybe the place is already set, so maybe you just investigate that restaurant ahead of time and see, oh, they do have some really cool non-alcoholic options. I'm going to order one of those, and maybe no one around you will even notice. Another thing for folks who maybe are used to having a glass of something after work every day, try to find something else to fill that time, whether it's a non-alcoholic version, or maybe you're going to suddenly use that time to do something creative or spend that time with your kids, but try to make a plan ahead of time to spend that time wisely, so that you're not kind of just sitting there thinking, this is when I would normally be having my drink.
Well, know your triggers, I think, a little bit too. Think about those types of things, I would guess. I also would think that one of the things about Dry January that's probably helpful for people is so many others are doing it. So I know it can be difficult for people who are sober sometimes to be, out and about in social situations. But this is something that's, there's not a big stigma attached to it. I think many people are recognizing the health benefits. They're at least giving it a try. And so, I think maybe just timing wise, it would be easier for folks to try it now, as opposed to just arbitrarily in the middle of the year saying, that's it for me, or whatever.
Yes, absolutely. Especially by now, you're right. You can just say, oh, I'm doing Dry January, and people know what that means, and they don't necessarily push back or question it as much as they would have even 5 years ago. The latest numbers I saw are that 1 in 4 Americans participate in Dry January. And I think also we're seeing, outside of January, we're seeing a decline in alcohol use. In the latest Gallup poll, 46% of Americans don't drink alcohol. And so that is also really helping to just make it a little bit less of the norm.
And you said too, there are events. I mean, it seems like mocktails are available in many restaurants, and then there are some special events that are going on this month as well.
Yes, more and more organizations are doing something to celebrate Dry January. Recover Alaska is really lucky to partner with organizations all over the state. I think we have 10 events that we are partnering on. There are a handful in Anchorage. There was a New Year's Eve one in Homer, but there are also events in Kenai, Arctic Village, Copper River, and you can find all of that information at recoveralaska.org.
Tiffany, what would you say, and it may be different for different people, but what would you say the end game to this is? I can think of a number of different things. As you mentioned about just being aware. Is this something that you can do, or was just gauging how difficult it was or not for you, I think would be helpful to know if you are a person that drinks fairly regularly.
Right.
But is the end game also to stop drinking entirely? Is it to cut back? Is it to just see what changes are in your body? All of the above? What would you think?
Sure, I think that's a great question, and I think it's a really personal answer and varies per person. I was talking to some folks who did Dry January last year, and they never thought of themselves as drinking often, as heavy drinkers, but they had wine almost every night with dinner, and then maybe a little bit more mixed drinks on the weekend. And after they did Dry January, they said, wow, we just hadn't even thought about how much a part of our lives it had become. And since last January, they have cut down. They still drink, but they have cut down across the board, and they're really doing it purposefully now instead of just kind of an ingrained habit like, oh, this is what we do every day. Now they're making that decision. Do we want to have wine tonight or do we not actually? So that's one outcome that I have heard really recently from last year's Dry January. I know that for some folks, this is the starting point of a long stint of sobriety for them, maybe because they felt so much better, or they had fewer problems in their relationships, or they had more energy with their kids, and so they just have made the decision that they don't want to go back to drinking anymore. But even if it doesn't change habits in the long term, it still is a positive health impact. Even for moderate drinkers who go back to drinking just like they used to, those 30 days off can be a really great reset for, I mentioned, your blood pressure. It reduces your cancer risk, your heart disease risk.
Do you have any
your
tips
liver
for people
gets a
who
chance
discover,
to kind of clear
I'm
out and
craving
rehabilitate
alcohol.
a little
I didn't
bit.
think that
And
it
so
was
even
this,
if it's just for
bad,
that 1
but
month of the whole
people
year,
who think,
it still is a nice
I'm actually
benefit.
craving alcohol, which is, an eye-opener, I would imagine, for some folks. But any tips on how to get over that a little bit?
Yep. There are a number of apps out there that people can use. So sometimes people find it really helpful to track their progress on the app, and even just seeing a daily reminder pop up can kind of bolster that decision to want to stick with it for this month. Also, to have that support, to have told friends and family and to reach out to them and say, hey, I'm actually finding that I'm struggling today. Can we talk, or do you want to see a movie or something? Sometimes it's a little bit more than that. And so I would say there are a lot of support groups out there for folks who don't drink alcohol. It used to be kind of just Alcoholics Anonymous, which is wonderful and still operates very much. And there are a ton of other options as well, including online or telephone meetings that people can attend with all different types of recovery and different kind of reasons people are doing it, or there are specific ones for the service industry, or if you're a chef, there are all sorts of different groups that people can participate in. And then I would also recommend talking to your care provider, to your healthcare provider. There are medications that can help people cut drinking entirely, but there are also medications that can just help people reduce a little bit. So if they're finding that they're having a hard time, there are medications that can help people just, it just curbs that desire a little bit.
So interesting. Is there anything else that you think is important to let folks know?
I guess I would just encourage people also, if you find you're struggling or if your family members are doing this, you want to support them, please do visit recoveralaska.org, or you can call or email us, and we would love to support anyone in this journey. And importantly, you're not alone. Whoever is doing this, whether you are doing it and excelling or doing it and struggling, you're not alone. There are other people who feel the exact same way, and there's support out there.
Great. And the website also has a number of events that are taking place that people might be interested in checking out.
Yes, we have an events calendar, and if somebody is doing something that's not already on the calendar, they can add it for themselves so that other people can join in.
All right. Tiffany, thank you so much for talking with us today, and good luck to everyone out there that is trying Dry January.
Yes, thank you. Happy 2026.
And thank you again to Tiffany Hall, and thank you for listening. I'm Lauren Maxwell. If you enjoyed this content, please like and follow this podcast.